Hello, travelers. Welcome to Life Between Flights, the podcast about small business, the travel industry, and all of life's interruptions. I am your host, Cecily North Rudo, certified travel advisor and owner of Traveling North Travel Agency. So today I'm so excited to have fellow Dugans agent, fellow five-star agent, Quise Grimes on today to talk about her business. She is a luxury agent, and she is someone that we have known each other for several years now. We cruised together in 2022 for a Royal Caribbean cruise. But before that, I know we had met at a Dugans U, but I wouldn't have been at one since 2019 probably. So that might have been the one that we met at. I'm not totally sure, but we've known each other for a while. And she definitely, her passion for what she does is just infectious. I love being around her. I love her energy. She's the one that kind of gets me out of my comfort zone and makes sure that I'm having fun at events. And we'll talk through the interview about, things we've done together and stuff. But, the time that I've spent with her, I love talking to her about business because she's always so supportive, but also I know that I can get a lot of really good information from her, whether it's about suppliers or whether it's how to deal with clients or how to build my business. She has always been a great person to turn to, and we talk about it in the interview, but she is such a good person to have in the room when talking to suppliers because I feel like she has sort of a different view on a product and how to market that to clients and how to market that in such a way to package different experiences for people. And so I just always love being in the room with her. And so I was so excited when she said that she would come on the podcast and talk about her business. I'm definitely going to invite her to come back and talk more about luxury in general and how she kind of runs her business. But I really hope you enjoy this interview. It was so much fun to talk to her. And I'm just so thankful that she was willing to take the time and talk to me today about her business and just all of the things that she's up to and kind of her story along the way. So welcome, Quise, to Life Between Flights. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you today, Cecily. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, of course. So just to go back in time a little bit. So Quise and I met, I don't even know how long ago. I know we attended a Dugans U. We were in the same space, but I know we didn't really talk at that conference. But then later on, we had been invited by Royal Caribbean to do their launching of their new building in Galveston. And so we both were on that cruise and we got to have dinner together, which was an amazing, wonderful dinner and wonderful discussion. And so thankfully we've continued to be friends and continue to talk over the years. So I wanted to have you on the podcast because you have such a specific niche and your business is just amazing and exploding. And I know you are always so busy. So thank you for being here today and talking with me, but also just to give you a little bit of time, tell me about your business.
Yeah, so my business is, TravelPro Consultants. And this was a business that was gifted to me by my husband. And I was not on board with it. My husband has been a corporate global affairs businessman for a long time. He's traveled to 47 states and started traveling international in 1995. So travel for me, it was a part of my lifestyle, in terms of how we moved every day, just being mindful of the countries that he was going to. And I started creating lists for him to say, bring me back this from Russia, bring me back this from Italy, India, wherever. And there was really no internet at the time. Mm-hmm. And so people would ask, what's on your wife's list? And he would share, and they started making more requests. He thought I would be really good at it. And he researched and gifted me the business. I was very busy, so I didn't touch the business for 2 years. And so here we are now with a completely different mindset, a different activation, a different execution on business, on my business model, how I care for my business, how I care for my clients, and all the things. So, yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. So generally when I'm doing these interviews, I'm talking to people about kind of what led them into the business. So that's a great introduction to all of that. Was there a specific moment for you when after those first 2 years where you're like, oh, this is the thing, this is what I'm now going to do, and I'm going to like actually make it my business? Was there a point in that for you?
Well, I think it's interesting. Holding on to the business for 2 years, I received a call from someone from the team who did help me to understand and activate. Had I not received that call, I wouldn't have ever activated myself to move in the direction. I learned a lot from just trying. And it was just an independent, no model was there for me. It was a lot of learning, but no model for me to say, do it this way or do it that way. I didn't know a lot of things. So I am often shocked, in terms of figuring out things. How do you get clients? How do you market your business? How do you do it all? How do you understand all of the product lines and how to get paid? It's different when you're traveling independently and you're putting it together for yourself or a friend, which I didn't do. I didn't do those things. But then when you're putting it together for someone who has an expectation, because this is a true business, how you package, how you handle those people, how you interact, that customer relation, that consumer client engagement, those things matter.
Absolutely.
So I figured that out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's a really great point, especially coming from being independent and you are completely on your own, just learning the ropes of all of it. And it's also, I haven't really thought about it, how I package things together when it is friends or family versus a client that, I maybe have never even met in person before, but I'm working with them and I want them to know that I'm invested in their trip as much as they are. Exactly. But that's a really great point of how you do that for clients versus, your friends and your family that you talk to all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to have that consistency. That's an important thing. And for your friends and your family, really when you're in that business mode, for them to take you seriously, right? Because they're coming to you for your professional advisement, your professional guidance. And you would think oftentimes, even this is a whole nother situation, you would think they would come to you because you've already traveled. You've already been to these spaces. My husband traveled, like I said, to close to 80 countries. So that was just a natural thing for us. And we traveled as a family. I started allowing my 14-year-old and my sons to move around Europe, and we wouldn't allow them to do that in New York. So, people, you'd be surprised that they don't come to you like you think they would. And then you get established and now they're like, oh, I'm not going to come to anybody else but you. But it was always there.
Yeah. And it's like, it's funny. I was talking to my sister-in-law the other, who you've met.
Natasha.
Natasha, who we love. And she's always like, it's so easy for me to promote you and your business. She's like, I can't do that for my own business, but I can do it for you. And it's so funny how, then I have on the flip side, I have other family members that think that they're bothering me if there's a travel request. And I'm like, no, like, I'm happy to do it. I'm absolutely happy to help you in whatever way, but they just feel like they're bothering me. And I'm like, no, this is my business. Like, this is what I do day in and day out. So it is really interesting to see how people react to that when they're super close to you.
Right.
So I know that you are a luxury travel advisor. How was that something that, like, because was that a world that you were already traveling in and that's how you fell into your niche, or did you kind of build that over time with this business?
Well, I think, again, like travel had been a part of my life for a really long time. And I, over the spans, much like you, being a mom, it's run the gamut from how we've traveled, right? And then you experience certain things because we never did it the same way every time. So I feel like that gave me an in, right? And so as I continued to travel, I really felt more comfortable doing things a certain way. Going to London, I like going into the city center of London, for instance, but I also like going out into Canary Wharf.
Mhm.
So the evolution of like landing into luxury, that was a natural evolution for me. I literally didn't seek it out, but what I did come to realize was that the gap between mid-level travel and entry-level luxury was really not that wide.
Mhm.
So around 2014, 2015, I had some clients who traveled and really became aware of villas. The villa market was not as strong. And
Mhm.
this was an all inclusive villa, which made it really niche
Yeah.
in that way. And I took a deep dive, and it was an expensive product line back then,
Mhm.
but I learned about it, I figured it out, and worked towards understanding how do you break that down to
Mhm.
make it accessible and affordable. So the biggest thing for me was really saying that there was, once I learned that product, I sold it so many times over and over, and then got additional requests. And then those people who kind of went into that were like, we're ready for the next step, we're ready for more.
Mhm.
So I started exploring that. And it wasn't for everybody, but it's like you're in the sales industry as well. So you have to kind of, and I don't have those landing pages and all the social media. So when I'm talking to clients, I speak to them about these possibilities, and then they hearken back and ask about these luxury products. So the exclusivity
Mhm.
of luxury, because it's that word is very expansive,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
In terms of all of the tiers and
Yep.
what it looks like for a lot of different people. It can be as wide as someone having a BMW versus them driving a Bugatti,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And so you just kind of want to meet people at, because you're still luxury in a BMW or Mercedes, that's
Mhm.
still
Mhm.
luxury, right?
Yep.
But so if we're going to like roll out all of the levels, that's the big thing, is to have it in your craw. Where is this for you? Where does this meet? And understanding that this does not have to be a one person experience. It could be a shared experience where what you would have paid is just for your one experience can be shared with others, and you get to split that cost. So it was an evolution of learning and breaking through and going all the feats, to the
Mhm.
exclusivity of Las Vegas, even of all of those beautiful things that they have hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegas is a great example of that, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like as you're talking about that, and I think that's like I talk about Dugans a lot on this podcast and just professional development in general, but I think that's, why I really like, especially with people like you, and there's other agents that just have those very specific, like you ask very specific questions of suppliers. And for me, even though I do have a few clients that are definitely that luxury in, but most of them aren't. But because you're asking the question, it's not something I would normally think of because that's not 85% of my clientele is not luxury, but that little bit is. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So to be in the room with you when you're asking the question, it's like, oh, this is great. I'm going to make a note of this. And I think that's what is so great about meeting fellow advisors and just being in the room together and being able to talk about, oh, this is, like, again, like you said, that luxury could be a million different things, but you talking to suppliers and asking and saying, hey, what exactly do you have for this, and this? Then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make a note of that for later. And that's one thing that I think is so valuable about meeting in person and also taking advantage of the supplier relationships that we have.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I do. I love, going to Dugan's U for all of those things that you said, and being in the room with so many people who have so many diverse travel styles in terms of how they sell and how they market and how they build their travel models. That is actually extraordinary to me. I'm not exclusively luxury and I didn't start in that space. So therefore I can, help a person who is starting off in their travel journey, large family, and they have a different style of budget. I'm here to help them with that as well because I'm familiar. But it's so funny you mentioned as you were talking, what's so funny is you mentioned us being on the Royal Caribbean ship.
Yeah.
So we went and took a look. We were doing our tour, and that ship was a large vessel. And it's very small now, right? I mean, since we were on it. But just remembering the tiers of luxury, even on a Royal Caribbean ship, that a lot of times when people are booking standard on these contemporary cruise ships, interior cabins, balconies, and ocean views, they don't recognize or realize that there are cruise cabins that contain baby grand pianos in two-story spaces, like you're walking into a New York penthouse with the best ocean views in the world, where the wraparound deck space is 8 cabins.
Yeah, when we did the Seattle visit in July, and we saw the Celebrity Edge, and we saw their biggest suite possible. And it's like bigger than most of our houses. Like it was just, I think it was like 3,200 square feet or something like it was just massive for it being, a cruise ship room, essentially.
Yes.
And I've heard you talk about it before too. And we also toured Carnival's Firenze in September. And that one was I was like, touring the suites on that ship, I'm like, oh, if I were to sail Carnival, this would be the ship that I would want to be on. And like the suites and everything and the cabana rooms and all of that, I'm like, this is how I would want to travel on Carnival, which was really shocking to me. Everyone knows I'm loyal to Royal, but for Carnival, I was like, this is what I would want. This is like the perfect space for me. So yeah, there are those price points, regardless of brand, that people might get overwhelmed when they think about luxury. But it's like, yeah, you can be on one of those cruise lines and just upgrade your room a little bit, and you're getting that added benefit and feeling more luxurious, even though maybe, people might not think about that right off the bat,
Right. So it goes from that to, the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, or any one of those ultra luxury brands from your Seabourn, Oceana, all of the brands that, I'm not excluding any, but there's so many. But that can be your starting point to upgrade those cabins where you have controlled access on the Firenze, for instance. And sitting in the back, they're serving you frozen strawberries. No one thinks of all of that when they're on a Carnival ship, but it exists and it's there. So just being able to even have the conversation to offer it to a client who didn't think, to help them to kind of come out of their comfort zone, those who want to splurge, because I have clients who can buy into the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, have tried various different contemporary cruises. And like you said, I'm loyal to Royal. They are loyal to Carnival. But people then think like, oh, it's rowdy, it's this. They know exactly what ships they like. The newer ships, or those that are not too old, those longer sailings, they exist. So it's a lot of tiers.
It absolutely is. So you were talking about like how you started, being as an independent. What made you decide to then go to a host agency?
So if you remember, I said my husband did the research and gifted me. So it wasn't a choice for me. It was already kind of a preset. And he did an amazing job because I've not had to change. The engagement has really, it really has been an added bonus, an added benefit to have the support. And when I started going to Dugans U, I think that was really a big game changer for me. And, you hear them say, attend, attend, attend. And then you think to yourself, I'm not making enough money to attend.
Right. Yep.
Or, right, to invest in that way. And I don't know what it is. I really don't, because you're not marketing. There's nobody there. It's the information that you're taking in for product lines that is amazing. I just remember I don't know if you remember, I would I usually sit like, like you do as well, towards the front.
Yep.
And sometimes it can be very, tiresome, right?
Yeah.
But for years, Rocky Mountaineer would come. And I would sit up in my chair. The guy was cute. I have to say, the guy was cute, but his presentation was amazing to see these trains. And I never thought to travel in that way.
Yep.
And the video always just was mind boggling to me to see that Fairmont Hotel. Just looks like somebody took some tweezers and dropped it in the middle of nowhere. Right. I was just amazed by that. And I just said, I need to get on that train. And so it took 3 years maybe before I actually activated again that. And I did a group. Where I got on the train and we did Colorado to Moab, Utah. And to have that experience was amazing. I don't think my mind's eye says, I don't think that I would have said, I want to ride on a train, but it was an amazing shared experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My husband and I did that trip last year, and I'm trying to get a group to go this coming year because it really, like, I tell people, I'm like, when you think about trains, you think Amtrak, right? Like that's probably what comes to most people's minds. And I'm like, this is not Amtrak. And it's also for us, like us being local to Colorado, I'm like, you are so used to driving I-70 and we are in the most beautiful scenery and you don't get to see it when you're stuck on the highway. And I'm like, this is just the perfect way to be served. You get everything you could possibly need brought to your seat. You get amazing scenery and you actually get to enjoy it. And it's like, and then you end up in Moab, which is beautiful. And so it's, I don't know, that trip for me was just like, I loved Rocky Mountaineer anyway, but to take that trip and have that experience, now I tell everybody about it because I'm like, it's a great little getaway and it's in beautiful scenery. And I've said on the podcast too, for me, the first Dugans U I went to, the first supplier I ever saw was Globus. And it was when they used to have that commercial about like the couple scrambling to like plan and then they're lost and, all of that stuff. And I'm like, for whatever reason, seeing that and then seeing their like promo of Europe or whatever, I cried. Like I was like, I found where I'm meant to be. So I think that's part of it too, is being in that room at Dugans U and you're seeing these suppliers and some of these videos and stuff. There are some of us that do cry seeing these commercials because it is so moving to us. And they're also really great storytellers. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be doing. But
it's exclusive marketing. Yeah. It's exclusive. Those are long commercials. That's exclusive marketing to their brand that we almost get a front seat to be able to see exactly these clips for 5 minutes. Where else are you seeing that? So that's a beautiful thing as well, to be able to say, hey, I cried when I saw that.
Yep, absolutely. And it's also, having the supplier in the room and they're seeing our reactions to it too. And being able to give them that feedback, like right then and there, and be like, okay, I need to know more about this, or wow, that was a really, really great piece of marketing or whatever. That's just such a valuable thing for all of us that I don't think, when it's like, come to Dugans U, come to the professional development, I don't think people quite get there's so much value in it that they're not even talking about when they're saying, come. It's like, there's just so much to it. And as we always say, it's an overwhelming amount of information in a very short amount of time.
Yes. But that's travel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to be talking to some agents too, who aren't with Dugans, who are with other host agencies. But what is it about, you touched on it a little bit, but what is it about Dugans that you've, decided to stay with them? Because there have been changes. I think all of the changes have been really great, but you always have the option to find something else. I don't know if you're like me. I get a lot of like, I wouldn't say necessarily recruiting emails, but definitely from other host agencies like, hey, we'll offer you this much commission and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm loyal to Dugans.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love the ease of how I get to build out my business with no stress for how I perform.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt that there's ever been any stress for my performance. And I love that there are tiers to help you to reach certain goals and they're preset, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not a requirement. So if I decide that I need to or I want to take time off or scale back, I truly don't believe that there's going to be someone saying to me, you need to work harder and meet more goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not the situation. And the ease of me being able to work my days the way that I want to, build out my business brand the way that I want to, the flexibility and the independence of being an independent contractor with the Dugans family group is extraordinary to me. I think it's remarkable to also be able to see how hard the person is working who holds the brand name.
Mm-hmm.
So to see her creativity, the consistent change, the resilience that she shows, the coming out of her comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
pushing through challenges, engagement, all of those things are important factors for me as a woman owned, woman led business.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, there's not going to be a perfect company,
Mm-hmm.
right? And changes occur, but you have to trust the process
Mm-hmm.
and be true to it, because you could actually move to somewhere else and completely hate it out the gate.
Yep.
So when you look at the benefits of how you're able to move as an independent agent under the brand, it makes sense for me. So that comfort level is there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can always switch, but why leave when things are working? And like I said, you're not going to always love every little thing. But for me, I'm usually head down, 10 toes down, really working all the time. So, if the change occurs, the easy click in to comply is there. And usually the compliance of whatever it is to maintain structure. Like living in homes, I don't know, like I think universal, you live in a home, you're going to have a homeowners association, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that they can make sure you're not parking your tractor trailer, and the home values stay intact. So I liken it to that these things are put in place to help the structure of the company, and to know that people are advocating for my business and advocating because her name's on it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And she respects the business models of all of the independent contractors. That is a big factor for me. And it definitely, when these goals are put in place, it makes me want to work harder. I think I said to her maybe 2 or 3 times, hey, I'm going to scale back.
Yeah.
And I never scale back. I do more, So, and she never says, don't do that. It's just a natural evolution of the business, and I embrace it. And it is I think it's wonderful to be in a space where you're supported.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said resilient, and I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely 100% how I would describe just Dugans in general. And yeah, I think that's exactly it of like, I was talking to agents last year and realized, that my goal has been 5-star for years now, and talking to another agent, and she's just like, I have no interest in hitting 5-star. And that was like mind blowing to me of like, what do you mean? Like, isn't that everyone's goal? And she's like, no, I just want to run my business how I want to run my business. And I was like, great, that's awesome. And so it's like, oh yeah, that's the great thing. It's like we all whatever our business is, we get to do it the way we want to with just this structure and this support behind it at any level that you want to be at. It's there without those strings and those, those kind of numbers tied to it that you see in a lot of industries, right? And so yeah, I love that. Everything you just said was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, look, I came out of a high pressure. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom, but prior to that, I worked in commercial real estate. I
Mm-hmm.
managed over 1 million square feet of corporate office space.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very fast paced, very high demand. And, that's the big thing. It's like you said, being able to run your business that way. When I went to a meeting and they came to Atlanta, the Dugans team came to Atlanta and they talked about maybe say getting your IATA card
Mm-hmm.
and making $5,000 like early on. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, I am never I am never going to achieve that
Yep.
goal. It will never happen
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
And to go from truly believe that just sounded so big for
Yep.
this industry.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed so like massive. It sounded massive.
Yep.
And to go from that to like okay like that like I already did that the previous year. I mean, like, I'm already ready, like that's locked and
Mm-hmm.
loaded.
Yep.
I mean, I'm renewing. And look, I'm so crazy now. They've gone to digital card
Yep.
format.
Yep.
I want my card. I am collecting those. Like, please, I'm going to pay the extra money so that I
Yeah.
can
I want the
carry
car.
my card.
I'm the same way. I'm like, nope, I worked really hard for this. Like, I
I,
want my
I want to open
photo.
my wallet and see it like a
Yep.
driver's license.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is funny too, because that was my goal for the longest time was to earn my IATA card. And I was super close to getting it 1 year. And this was before I really started working my business as a business. And then once I finally was like, okay, I'm going to really dig in and start doing this, I hit IATA and 5-star in the same year. So it was like,
Yes.
yeah, like once you're kind of committed to that and you're like, okay, this is my goal. Now looking back on it, it's like, wow, I was so stressed about that for so many years. And now it's like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, the momentum when
Mhm.
once you're in that momentum, and that's what I tell people. I am moving and striking while the iron is hot.
Mhm.
Even though some days I'm like, oh, I need to back up, but I just keep leaning in,
Mhm.
and the results of the blood, the sweat, the tears,
Mhm.
I can see it. So this is not like people think it is, how they just kind of pair it up. We've worked hard for all of these tiers, and
Mhm.
I keep using the word tiers because there are tiers. But even if you're not 5-star, to be able to build your business to however it is that you want it to be, your goal could be just to have 5 consistent clients,
Mhm.
and nothing's wrong with that.
Yep.
If that is a successful tier for you, because that is exactly what you wanted. But no, I'm trying to get to all of the levels. When I made the next level, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm pushing forward,
Yep.
onward and forward.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it is like it, and it's nice to have that little bit of motivation just to be, if nothing else, I know that my stretch goal is going to be the next level. I think that's really, really helpful to just have that kind of in the back of my mind, even though, I want now it's like, yeah, I want the podcast to be successful and I want all these other things to be successful. But yeah,
It
having
will
those,
be
those
successful. You're trekking in the right direction.
that's what I'm aiming for. All right, so I have one other question and then we'll do the fun stuff. If you had to start over tomorrow, what would you do the same and what would you change?
That's a great question. For me, I think I would do focus groups. Knowing what I know today, I think it would be focus groups. It would be me doing more travel along with me. It would
Hmm.
be me doing more let's explore,
Hmm.
right? And the reason why I say that is because it would then allow me flexibility. Like right now, like we were talking about wave season and peak
Hmm.
years. I believe, I don't know, right? But I
Mhm.
believe that it would give me that opportunity to travel as well. I can't go anywhere this January.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, if the trip of a lifetime landed on my doorstep at this point, I am so busy.
Mhm.
So I feel like if I were to do focus groups, I would be able to time things a little bit better. I would then also be able to travel. Before 6 years ago, before we had all of the things that happened in our universe,
Mhm.
the thought process for me was to shift the business to a format or to try a model with my husband being retired
Mhm.
for us to then do alternating trips to Europe, going to see various different countries and flying out with groups. The change happened and a different avenue opened up for me. So that keeps me busy,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for it. But if I were to do it over again, I think that's what I would do. I would do more travel along with me type of groups. So then I could manage better my front end and my back end of my business, as well as getting the luxury
Mhm. Mhm.
to travel a little bit more and schedule. Right now, I can't schedule. People ask me, "What are you going to do another train ride? Are you going to do another trip?" I don't have time to schedule those things for
Right?
myself.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's guaranteed I'm going to Dugans every year. That's the only thing that I
Yeah.
can put on my calendar. I was just talking to a friend earlier today because her kiddos are, well, not kiddos, her kids are now in college. And I'm like, my daughter's about to start kindergarten. And so we are very, she's now suddenly having the freedom where she gets to travel differently now because the kids aren't going to be with her. Whereas I'm like, well, now with kindergarten, I'm like, I can't take my kiddo out of school as easily as I could in preschool or, when she was younger. So, yeah. And it's just, I don't know, the stages of life and all of that stuff go
Yes.
with it.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So now for the fun questions.
Okay.
So, and I know this is a little different because we are in the travel industry. So, for whatever that's worth, how does travel inspire or reset you as a business owner, as a travel advisor?
Wow. Travel does. It does inspire me. And through my conversations with my clients, I think it's infectious. The
Mhm.
fact that I'm a creative, I think, to a certain degree, and I can help them to create bespoke experiences where they can go and reset. I just had a couple of clients who went to Ilhabella. Are you familiar with
I've
that?
heard I've heard the name. I think I've seen it in some research.
Yes. And they only went for about 4 days. It was a nice long flight, landed out in Rio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have ever thought to go there. But I'm inspired. I slow down the train. This is a locomotive that I have. And so I slowed down the train and I went to Tulum,
Mm.
Mexico. And I will say, I didn't sell Mexico for many years of my business.
Mhm.
And Dugans changed that through a supplier. So I sell a ton of Mexico now, even the
Mhm.
villas. But I went to Tulum, which is deeper,
Mhm.
and outside of Cancun.
Yeah.
And I was there for 8 days. And I had to continue to tell myself, don't do any, work. But of course, I had to go and take a look at a couple of things, and I did that independently. So I came back refreshed, renewed. I came back with so much inspiration to be able to tell clients that what I saw, what I touched, and I'm selling that to Loom like nobody's business. I am not kidding. Oh my gosh, we'll have to talk about secrets to Loom and
Yeah.
the fact that they have a built in all inclusive villa.
All right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
So, yes, yeah, that's how I'm inspired.
Yeah. I always say I live vicariously through my clients because they get to go to all these wonderful places that I don't get to go to.
That you craft, that you
Yep.
put together.
Yep.
Hmm.
And they have a magical time. Has travel ever changed something about the way that you run your business or the work that you do or maybe the way that you lead?
I think yes, because we deal with the public.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always teachings and there's always learnings that go along with those interactions, expectations. And so I always say to people, we're talking about travel. So sometimes we have to, sometimes when you have those high strung clients, you're like, you have to bring it down a couple of notches
Mm-hmm.
and say to them, this is travel. We're blessed to be able to have this conversation, to build out an experience. And what you learn is sometimes people aren't going to have a great time because they showed up. They showed up on the beautiful beach, and the beach was beautiful before they got there, but they brought all of what disturbed them at the house.
Yep.
They brought that to the beach, and that had zero to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, travel has, and this is not my first business that I've owned.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been challenged in a lot of areas in my career, but I don't think anything has forced me, pushed me, made me think outside of all of the boxes like travel has. And so many people think that travel, when you're traveling or you're building out travel, they often think that it's a linear process, that everybody's going to travel and it's going to either be good or it's going to be bad. But there are often times that you have to be resolute in your mind. You have to be proactive in your thinking. You sometimes have to be relatively reactive, because people have accidents on trips. Unfortunately, they pass away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have mental breaks.
Yep.
Things happen while people are on vacation, and you're that first line of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to keep it together, because as many times as I have wanted to, like, jump out of my body because of what I've heard,
Mm-hmm.
I've had to keep it together
Yep.
and be the rock and the person to help. So I think for me, it's helped me in a lot of ways grow
Mm-hmm.
in ways that's unimaginable, because I wouldn't have thought that travel would lead me to this space when I've had the hard the hard jobs that I've had in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If you could take your team, your clients, or your community on a dream retreat, where would you go and why?
Oh, wow. Geez. I mean, there's so many places.
Yeah.
I mean, the Seychelles, uh, Africa, Bora Bora, Tahiti.
Mm-hmm.
I can name like so many places. I just had a client who wants to do, I think it's Cappadocia in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I'm saying it properly, pardon me. But she wants to do the hot air balloon and look at the Christian stones. You know, there are so many beautiful places. Even at one point, I was working with a company that came to us through Dugans,
Mm-hmm.
where they really wanted me to do a lot of some of my clients who really have more means, right?
Mm-hmm.
For them to do zero gravity to space.
Wow.
So that's what it was called. Yeah. And I actually got somebody to sign on.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that wouldn't be my thing because it's too short of a trip. I
Yep.
mean, it's an impactful trip, but it's so short.
Mhm.
But, it's going to look different for so many people. There are so many amazing places to journey to. Iceland, there's just so many places.
Yeah.
So I can go on and on. Like I said, my husband's been to close to 80 countries. And to think that I think there's over 200 and something countries in
Mhm.
the world. So we're so lucky to be able to just kind of hop a few planes and get there in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those, every time that I'm researching, for clients, and it's someplace that I've never been. And sometimes it's places I've never heard of. And then you're doing research and it's like, oh yeah, I get why they want to go there. It's like, they're just amazing. One final question, and you've kind of hinted at this, but if money, time, and logistics weren't a thing, what is your dream trip?
I guess I would do one of those around the world tours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not?
Yep.
Just let's do an around the world type of tour so that I can just hit a whole lot of spots and see everything. Just an open ticket to wherever, and just have these amazing experiences, building and learning so much. And I think another thing for me is, a lot of my background has to do with a lot of philanthropic work that I've done over the years. I didn't tell you, I used to be a shoe model as well, and that led to more philanthropic work. Yeah. And so I try to be mindful and intentional with my clients as well with that, because there are so many things that you can bring to their attention, like packing with a purpose or packing for a purpose or traveling with a purpose, especially when you're going to so many Caribbean islands like Jamaica. We've gone and read to students and been a part of foundation work out in Jamaica and in St. Lucia. I encourage clients to pack pens and paper and books, and they love that. So, just being mindful, thoughtful, and intentional, and me having the opportunity to go to the different places in the world to see where is a need where I can serve. I think that's also a big thing. And to see how various different countries and cultures, how they're different. And this is the craziest thing. Sometimes I tell clients, when you're traveling, have an open mind. People go to Italy and they complain that the food doesn't taste like the food that the Italian food. But think about, they are cooking with a simpler palate and a fresh concept, fresh pasta, fresh herbs. So no, it is not going to taste like your favorite Americanized Italian restaurant. So, you have to go with an open mind and embrace all that these countries have to offer. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you again for your time today. I truly appreciate it. Can you share with us the best way to find you? I know that you're not on social media or anything like that. How people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I can be reached the old school way by phone, text 770-875-4790. I can be reached by email at mrsquise@bellsouth.net, and that's mrsquise@bellsouth.net. I mean, it's real simple. I'm very accessible.
I love it. Well, thank you again for your time today. I love you. I think you're such an amazing woman, and I can't wait to see you in person someday.
We will see each other very, very soon. And I love you. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. Keep thriving. Keep giving us the best of yourself, because we appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Well, I hope you really enjoyed that interview. I know I had such a great time catching up with my friend and being able to learn more about the background of her business. I know we're going to be doing another episode talking about the luxury industry in general, but if you can find a fellow agent like that who can be supportive of your business, but also just be a great resource to ask questions of, I highly recommend finding someone like that you can turn to when you have questions about a supplier or a process or how to build your business. Quise has definitely been someone inspiring in my life, just to see how she's grown her business and how she's just continues to thrive through everything that she does and everything that she puts her mind to. And so she's just a really, really great friend and resource in the travel industry for me. And so I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd love for you to subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming next. And thank you for joining me. I hope you have safe travels and that your luggage may follow you wherever you go. Today's episode of Life Between Flights was sponsored by me, Traveling North, produced by me and edited by Nomad Creations. Please check out the show notes for referral links, discount codes, and more resources that I've talked about in this episode. You can also follow along on our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Life Between Flights Pod. If you want help planning your next adventure, you can always check me out at travelingnorthagency.com. If you have any questions, ideas, or would like to sponsor this podcast, you can email us at lifebetweenflightspod@gmail.com.